Hey guys, this is Chris with First Flight Powder Coating, which makes me sound like I'm some sort of professional. It's been doing this my whole life. I'm not. I started powder coating about 3 months ago. Yeah, literally 3 months. I bought the little Eastwood dual voltage thing, did a couple Yeti cups, decided I liked doing it. Just needed a hobby, so I changed that. I bought a Cool Coat 3.0. And I've been powder coating with that for up until today, actually. So the point of this video is to do a review on the Electron E-Coat Master. Here's the Electron. Pardon the video, I'm not a professional YouTuber or anything. But yeah, I just wanted to give you guys a perspective from an absolute amateur on how this thing goes. I have not used it at all yet. I don't even know if it's hooked up correctly. So it's very possible that, I try to make this video and I start spraying a little powder and I end up not spraying any powder. You can see it is brand new. No powder has come out of this thing at all yet. I just plugged it in for the very first time. Pardon the shop. Normally it's clean in here, but my little hobby has gotten kind of out of control. I've been a lot busier than I ever expected. So it's kind of turned into a little bit of a mess in here, but normally it looks better than it does, but I'm working on my own stuff, so it's kind of a mess. But anyway, I have not turned this thing on yet. I have watched Dan's videos and then given my own experience. I'm going to make a couple little settings changes. I found out since I've started doing this that I tend to like a little less airflow. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think the guys that do big batches of stuff like fence posts and stuff like that, hand railings and industrial stuff, probably like a lot more airflow. I have found that with the work that I do, which is normally, custom stuff like this and wheels and little things, that I like a lot less airflow, gives me a little bit more control. But anyway, that's me. So here we go, power on, I hope it works. Yeah, so the settings changes that I was going to make based on Dan's recommendations was, one, I'm going to go to the Faraday setting here because these parts have a couple little Faraday areas in them, so we'll see how this works. So the settings changes I was going to make was I'm going to turn the air down to 3.5 and the percentage down to 35. I think this is what Dan recommended. Either way, it's a lot less than what the settings are, what the factory settings are. Yeah, and I've got my input air here. I put an additional little filter on it. My input air is set there. Why? Because there's two little green things there, and green makes me think that's where the air is supposed to go. And it's input air, so, I mean, who really cares? I think this comes on when you actually pull the trigger. Let's see. Yep. It does. Dan said he likes it set below the green. So I'm gonna set mine below the green as well to try and make less of a mess in here. But that's it. I've got the pickup into a small box. I've only got about 2 pounds of powder in that bag. So I've got it in a fairly small box. I've got a tie wrap very loosely around it, again, like Dan recommended. But that's it. So yeah, give me a second here and we'll start laying some powder and see how this goes. All right, we're back. I hope you can hear me. I got my air on, so it's a little loud in here. Again, never been used. I'm about to pull the trigger for the first time. Let's see what happens. All right, well, there's powder coming out. Let's see if it sticks to anything. First setting, I'm going to increase my air a little bit. I think I want a little bit more box air or feed air or whatever. I don't even know which one this is, but it's the one that provides the powder. And I believe the percentage is the helper air that like pushes the powder through the gun. I'm going to leave that where it is. Everything else seemed all right. So let's do the other side. Yeah, I like that a lot better. First impressions, this is actually a pretty difficult little Faraday area right in that corner, and it looks, without much effort, completely covered, as does behind there. Those are the two biggest Faraday areas on this thing. You know, back in those corners too. Those look like they would be difficult Faraday areas, but they were always pretty easy, even with the cool coat. These guys here, you know, they look like they turned out pretty good. Like I said, first time ever spraying with it. I'm learning as I go. I know somebody out there watching the video is probably like, "Oh, you idiot, you sprayed the threads." Yeah, I know I did. The shaft above the threads can be powder coated. I actually don't mind if it is. It cuts back on corrosion a little bit. And my technique on these, just to save me a little time, is I just grab my blower here. I got the air pressure turned down pretty low. And that just works for me. Obviously, go around both sides of these things. This is, you know, the shaft is inserted into another piece, so you won't see it, so I don't care if the line is perfect. I also do the same thing with these. You know, you could mask them off or plug them or something. I don't currently have a plug big enough to stick in there, and I don't feel like masking them. So it always works really well for me to just, with a little bit of air, come in here and spray them out. That's it. Works really well. I do it from both sides, and it'll get rid of that little bit that's left in there, but I've been doing this for a little while. Works good for me. Anyway, first impression on the Electron. Like I said, I didn't really follow any instructions to set it up. I just kind of started bolting it together, and what looked obvious, that's where I put it. Followed Dan's recommendations for settings. Like you saw, I did turn up the pressure just a little bit, but very easy to work with. The flow of powder, the biggest thing I noticed between this and the cool coat, and obviously this has just been the first time I've used it, but the biggest thing I noticed was the powder coming out of the gun was very uniform. The cool coat tends to be a little heavier powder on the edges and a little lighter in the middle, which after a while you learn how to kind of use that to your advantage in some instances. But the powder came out just very controlled and very consistent out of this gun. And the trigger pull was a lot nicer. I like the fact that it's big enough. You kind of use 2 fingers on the trigger. But man, that just made it really easy. I mean, it's like the difference between driving a Chevy Cobalt and a Chevy Corvette through traffic. You know, you're driving the same speed. I'm doing the same thing. I'm putting powder on parts, but just seemed a lot easier with the Electron. With the digital settings, you just kind of set it and forget it. You know, with the cool coat, I'm always spraying a little bit and then I'm reaching back and I'm kind of tweaking the KV a little bit to get it to go where I want it to on the fly. But the Electron just made it really, really easy. So again, first time I've used it. I'm sure I'll learn something every time I'm out here. But that's my initial review on this thing. I hope you guys that are thinking about it can get something out of this video. I don't know if it'll make you decide to purchase or not, but man, I don't regret it so far. It really seems like a good unit. Anyway, thanks guys.